is Ann Mulholland. I had the extraordinary privilege to be this guy's deputy mayor for his first 5 years in office, and I can't look at him or I'll start crying. And it's just an honor to be here today, because we're here today to really celebrate 11 extraordinary years, soon to be 12, as being mayor of this great city. And there is nothing that has been more important in my life than have been given the opportunity to serve you. So I really appreciate that opportunity. First, I want to just, I wasn't supposed to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. There are a few people that are really, really important because they got him here. And I just want to say, Chris Fredson, Aaron Dady, Bob Hume, Emma Greenman, the Dream Team campaign. That brought him here. Big shout out. The second thing I shouldn't do, but I'm going to do this. There are a few people who didn't desert the mayor and who have been in that office for the whole of it. And I want them all, I want you to all give it up for 5 extraordinary people. Nancy Homans. Jean Carpy. Ann Hunt. Joe Spencer, and the queen, and the person who really gets her done, and that's Chris Ryder. So, you know, as I said, we're here today to celebrate 11, soon to be 12 extraordinary years for Chris Coleman being mayor of this great town. And I wanted to start out with a story. And I want to tell you a little story about that first month in January of 2006 that this guy schooled me quite a bit. And we were going to one of the first groundbreakings that we ever participated in. It was Rondo Library. And it was fabulous. It was a great groundbreaking, and it was very emotional. It was my first time participating in something like this, and he said, Ann, you got to call Randy Kelly. You got to make sure Randy is there. And unfortunately, he couldn't come. But I didn't really grasp why that was important until he sat me down afterwards and told me. And he said, Ann, you know, you do a lot of great things in these jobs. And a lot of those seeds you plant sprout up a little bit later than your time. So he spent his time at Rondo Library thanking Randy Kelly and Debbie Montgomery for their planting that seed and for having that vision and that dream. And you taught me about investing and having patience and really sticking with something. So thank you for that. So I get to give you a little context. You'll see the order here. I get to give you a little context of that first 5 years. And you may not remember this. Some of you painfully do. So a little bit of context. There were a few things going on back in 2006 through 2010. There was a little bit of a budget challenge in the city of St. Paul, just a wee bit of challenge. Within that first month, we got a call from Ford. The Central Corridor was not funded even slightly. It was not necessarily going to ever happen. There was an airport that needed a flood wall. There was a smoking ban demand. There was a little thing called an RNC convention, Aaron. And then there was something just really insignificant, which was a major recession. And you're in that mayor's chair, and you have to have that context. So those first 5 years, what did this guy do with that? I'd say quite a hell of a lot. He invested. He invested, and he invested big. And he planned for future investment. And he started it with investing in the city's infrastructure. And those of you who are department directors here know, and I'm just going to try to paint a little bit of a picture. I'm going to look at Mike Hahn, because the first one is, that Como campus was not that Como campus 11 years ago. There were no McMurray fields or wonderful polar bear exhibits and gorilla exhibits. There was no Como pool open. He invested. And he invested over and over again in Arlington Hills, in Lilydale, and so much more. We'd be here all day. In the libraries, and those library directors that are here, in 4 major library renovations, in addition to the system as a whole. He invested in fire. We merged 2 fire stations into one, built a headquarters, and made it an infrastructure to be proud of for the city. In police staffing, and police fleet. He grew the charge of the Human Rights Department to the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Department. He really invested in the city infrastructure, but not just the city infrastructure. He also knew that economy was coming back, and this town was worth it, and worth taking risks, and worth major investments. And he did it with gusto, and I just can't thank you enough for doing it. You stuck with that green line, and you got that funding done. We stood in Lower Town in front of a giant hole in the ground and announced Rebuild St. Paul, and Cecile Bador is nodding over there, and virtually every one of those projects, all of those seeds that were planted then, have sprouted and have come out of the ground. And you didn't do any of that alone. You did that with an extraordinary city council who were partners and teammates, and I have to look at my friend Kathy Lantry because we spent a lot of time in the women's restroom getting a lot done. A lot got done in the women's restroom. And so what I would say to you, Mayor, is you have not been a good mayor. You've been an extraordinary mayor, investing in this town over and over again, and it is of my greatest pride to have worked for you. So now I get to introduce the guy who came in when I shared we had a long talk about me leaving, and it was just a wee bit emotional, and we stopped talking for a while, or he stopped talking to me for a while, but then we got over it. You know, we're good friends, we got over it. And I had the good pleasure of having a friend call me and say, you know, you got to talk to this guy, Paul Williams. He's pretty wonderful, and I think he would be great. So I go in and talk to the mayor and kind of tiptoed, you know, I have an idea. And he said, well, it turns out I went to school with him. Wouldn't you know? So with that, let me introduce you to Paul Williams, the wonderful person who followed.
Well, if that, following Ann Mulholland today, just like 5 years ago, how do you fill those shoes? You know, well, we took a shot at it. And I came in 2011 to early 2014. They had set the table wonderfully. Growing economy. St. Paul was fighting for its share throughout the region. The city was a lot of things moving in the right direction. Big projects underway. I came in not during the wonderful planning for Green Line or the wonderful opening of Green Line, but construction of Green Line. I came in not for the wonderful visioning and design work around Penfield. I came in for the construction of Penfield. I came in not for the wonderful planning and thinking around Lower Town Lofts. I came in for the construction of Lower Town Lofts, and ultimately the wonderful work that went into CHS Field and the Saint Stadium. I was part of all of that, but never got to see the actual opening of CHS Field. But the theme there, and the mayor was fond, as many of you know, of twirling his bat in the mayor's office. His theme, I think, when I came in was get to yes. The chamber, a lot of partners in the city really dedicated to getting to yes, getting projects done, getting work done. And that was a phenomenal time to be there. Now, he kept saying, just wait till 2014. When all these things are going to open, it's going to be a great year. And of course, I left in the spring of 2014 before any of them opened. But it really was and has been a phenomenal stretch for the city. And tremendous growth. The other piece of work that we began in those years that I think was really phenomenal and the mayor deserves great credit for is our work around racial equity. And some real work, I know the former Superintendent Silva's here, the work that we began with the school district in particular around some real courageous conversations. We took that work and started to seed that across the city and the city departments, knee to knee, eye to eye. And I still believe to this day, one of the reasons that this mayor has been so effective in working with some really difficult racial equity issues is in fact because he had taken that journey. He had gone knee to knee, eye to eye, was not afraid to dive into those issues. And my predecessor, or my successor, really has taken that to the next level. You can be either, actually, if you'd like. So that body of work, I think, was really good on the mayor's behalf. But the truth is, I came in January 4th of 2011, which was the first of 3 brutal winters, and everything for us was about snow plowing. Right, and that was the first of a 16-inch snowstorm, followed by an 18-inch, followed by a 17-inch, and it went on, if you remember, that winter. I said, well, it can't get any worse than that. Winter of 2012, what do we get? Polar vortex, right? I mean, it starts early, it goes late, and it is heavy all winter, and we are, just maddening. Year 3, winter 3 for me. It starts early, it goes late, and if you remember, we had the heavy, soggy snows all the way into May. And that's the story that I actually want to tell, because I think it's a great story. Saturday, 7-inch snowstorm, May, it's heavy, it has to be plowed. You knew that it had to be dealt with, but were we going to call a snow emergency? Well, of course, there we are on a Saturday. The mayor's in a snowplow truck, and he's on the cell phone with me, and we're problem solving. And he comes up with this concept of a hybrid snow emergency. What would happen if we asked the citizens to move their cars and didn't tow those cars, right? And sure enough, it worked. We asked the citizens to move their cars, and they moved their cars for the most part. We got it plowed, and it was a very effective solution. One of the things that I think that really represents is his on-the-ground rootedness, his problem solving, his very tangible, pragmatic approach, get it done, get to yes, kind of governance that I think is so special. So for me, it was an honor. The mayor and I had gone to grade school together. We had worked in neighborhoods for years prior to me coming to the city and him being a city council member even. And I give him great credit for truly being a man of the people. We met again in the years before in Frogtown when he and Connie were living in Frogtown, and he was a neighborhood activist. That is the kind of rootedness and groundedness that really, I think, creates authentic leadership. And it was an honor to spend 3.5 years with you, as hard as it was to follow Ann Mulholland. And I too, I think when I came in to tell him that I was leaving, I can't remember, he said something like, forever shall the name Williams be banished from, as he's swinging the bat. But had the wonderful opportunity to pass the baton to Kristen Beckman, a phenomenally talented woman who I have gotten to know a tremendous amount about here in recent years. So I'm going to introduce Kristen Beckman now.
This is going to sound self-serving, but the one thing I would say about Mayor Coleman is that he knows how to hire really good people. And you listen to my 2 predecessors, Ann Mulholland and Paul Williams, and I look around the room at all of the current and past city employees who are here, and Mayor Coleman knows how to surround himself with really talented people. And so I just want to, for a moment, say thank you and applaud all of you who have worked for the Coleman administration currently or in the past. The success of this administration largely is yours, and I appreciate you very much. So as Paul said, I start in May of 2014, and within literally my first week, Arlington Hills Community Center opens up. It's a huge success. And then a month later, the Green Line opens up, which is a huge success. And a year later, the CHS Saint Stadium opened up, which is a huge success. And I think this is the best job ever. And poor Paul has slogged out the housing crash and the foreclosure crisis and the bad winters and all of it. But through all of that handoff that has happened that you've heard about, from Ann to Paul to me, the consistent part in there has been the mayor. And it has been his vision. And it has been his commitment to creating a whole city. He loves this city more than anybody in this room. A whole city where everyone thrives. And these vibrant places and spaces are throughout our neighborhoods, whether it's the Rondo Commemorative Plaza, I see some of the organizers over there, or it's Little Mekong Plaza, or it's the rebuilding of the Ordway and the fabulous gem that is in our downtown, or the Palace Theater that is going to open in December, that is going to be an amazing music venue, or whether it's our rec centers, our partners who are in Conway, or our rec and park services. Every part of this city is more vibrant because of Mayor Coleman. The city looks different and is different. And coming soon, a groundbreaking and the new building and pulling down Major League Soccer as a franchise into Minnesota, and building of the stadium and redevelopment of the Midway setting right up here on the Green Line. And I'm not kidding, that is Mayor Coleman's vision. He has had this vision through the whole time. He has pushed all of us. I mean, there were times, particularly around the soccer stadium, I was like, you want us to what? You want us to get that and pull that down into Minneapolis? And with partners like those at the Met Council and the state and within the city, we were able to do that, and it's a huge success. But the piece that I love most about my job and working with the mayor and all of the talented people here in the council and in the administration is this commitment to the whole city. He is the mayor for the whole city, whatever neighborhood it is in. He has the racial equity work that we've done together, his commitment to making sure that everyone in the city thrives, and really trying to get people to understand that the success of Grand Avenue is also about the success of Payne Avenue, that the east side is better because Miriam Park is better, and Crocus Hill is better because the north end is better. Thank you, Rebecca Naker. I love that about my job, and I love that I do think our city is going to be different because of the groundwork we are doing on that. I'm very proud of my mayor, and I think you are all here because you are proud of him too. And I am proud of the city we have built together, all of you community partners and all of us, the labor partners, the business partners, everybody in this room who comes together on projects like Dorothy Day, which will open up this year, that we can celebrate our success together. And I am incredibly proud to now be able to introduce you to our mayor, Mayor Coleman.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. I tell you, it does my heart good to see all of you here. I am just so happy that you could be with me this afternoon. Let me just start off by saying that when these three extraordinary people behind me that you just heard from talk about my accomplishments, what they're really talking about is their accomplishments and the work that they have done to lead this city. I have been blessed with three incredible deputy mayors. Thank you. Let's give it up for the Matts and the Jeremys here at Lake Monster, this incredible place, this incredible beer. You want to? I do appreciate your hosting me. I have a lot of stories that I could tell, but if I go down that road, it's going to be really dangerous because there's 11 years of being mayor, you develop a lot of stories. But I'll try to stick to script, which is hard. But again, thank you all for being here. 11 years ago, the day after I was elected mayor, I went down to City Hall and I stood out on 4th Street shaking hands of all the city employees as they were coming in to their job for the day, just thanking them for the extraordinary work that they did for the city of St. Paul and for this community that we all love. And you know, Election Day was this beautiful, it was a warm day, it was glorious. Well, the day after, this wind came out of the north like a train. It was so cold, it was so miserable. And I said, well, you know, I ran for mayor promising the winds would change. I just didn't know they'd be so damn cold. But really, you know, the winds of change have been blowing in the city of St. Paul for the last 11 years. And hot or cold, they have propelled the city of St. Paul forward. Hot or cold, they had made this a better community. And I have to say that as a person who has lived in St. Paul all of my life, I have never seen St. Paul at a place where it is more vibrant, a better place to live, to work, to raise a family than it is today in 2016. So it's really hard not to, you know, when I'm reflecting back on my 10, 11 years as mayor, it's hard not to just do the greatest hits list because we've had some successes. Some of them have been mentioned. We had the Green Line. That although we didn't build, we certainly played a role in making it a success. CHS Field, Arlington Hills Community Center, the redevelopment planning that's gone on to the Ford site. The Schmidt Artist Lofts, which are one of the coolest places to live in the Twin Cities, the Penfield and the Lunds downtown, our outstanding work on sustainability, is particularly the work that we've done helping companies save money by retrofitting their buildings, by going green, so that they could not only stay but expand their workforces. The work that we've done on out-of-school time to make sure that all of our children have great places to go after school when they're not in the classroom so that they can continue their learning. Our work around equity. That is as important as any work that we are doing in the city of St. Paul. We have the Promise Neighborhood Initiative that is making a huge difference for families in Frogtown and Arundel. We have record numbers of police officers on the streets of the city of St. Paul, and we have record numbers of firefighters and paramedics that are ready to answer the call whenever the alarm rings. But what you lose when you just kind of go through lists like that is you have a list, but you kind of lose the story of the people that helped us do the work, propelled us forward, that were affected by the work that we did. We've been blessed so blessed along the line in the work that we have done. No leader works alone. No leader succeeds alone. And for me, I have succeeded because I have had incredible city employees that have been with me every step of the way. My department directors that have led us through good times and bad. These 3 fantastic deputy mayors behind me. Staff members in my office that picked up every challenge that I gave to them and ran with it and got the work done. Particularly, if I may just point out one person, Chris Ryder, who has So even though I'm not convinced that she wasn't trying to kill me at times, she has kept my life sane. She's kept Connie's and our kids' life sane. But I'll just tell you a quick story. I was in Pittsburgh for the National League of Cities meeting 2 weeks ago, and I was having dinner with some folks from the White House. And they said, Mayor, you know that in every city in this country, when we want something done, we go directly to the mayor, with one exception. We'd much rather talk to Chris Ryder than you. It's true. My colleagues at the City Council, those that are with me now and those that have served in the past, at the County Board, our school board members, our state legislative delegation that has been a champion for all the work that we have done, the community members that have led on everything from bicycles to recycling, our labor friends that have helped build the city and keep it going in the right direction, our business community and our great partner at the Chamber of Commerce, Matt Kramer, who have continued to invest in the city and make it the kind of vibrant place that we all wanted it to be. You know, I was thinking back and I thought, is there one story that I could tell that I think kind of captures the spirit of the people of the city of St. Paul better than any other story. And that's, again, a dangerous thing to go down, a dangerous road to go down, because there are so many people that have played such an important role. But there is one story that I'm reminded of. You know, it seems like a distant memory, but not that long ago, we were in the middle of the worst recession since the Great Depression. In 2008, we were about to launch Invest St. Paul, which was an effort to make sure that every neighborhood in our city had resources being devoted to it. And then we were hit with the recession. We were hit with the mortgage foreclosure crisis, and people across the city of St. Paul were losing their homes. Their mortgages had been sold 2 or 3 times. They had no idea who to call, and so they called the city. And the staff members of the Planning and Economic Development Department went to work day and night to assist homeowners to try to figure out how they could make sure that they could stay in their homes. One of the leaders of that effort was Michelle Wojcik. And she was tireless. And she would pick up that phone. She would calmly walk people through the challenges that they faced. And in the middle of that, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She didn't miss a beat. She didn't miss a day. She went to work as hard as she had ever to help the people of the city of St. Paul in their most fundamental and precious thing, their home, and to keep that home. That's the spirit of the city of St. Paul. That's the spirit of city employees. I think Michelle is here today. Michelle, where are you? Oh, right there. Michelle. When Nancy Holman's called Michelle to say, you know, make sure you're here because the mayor wants to mention you, she said, well, I was kind of having a bad day, but it just got better. So thank you for everything that you did. You know, as we said about rebuilding the city of St. Paul, we always remembered the people that had gone before, and quite frankly, the mistakes that we had made before. As we built the Green Line, we heard loud and clear from the community that they didn't want the mistakes that were made when I-94 was built, the devastation of the Rondo community, the unfairness and inequity of what happened in the building of I-94 to happen again. The Stops for All campaign got together and lifted their voices and spoke for that community. They changed federal policy from right here in our little corner of the world so that we could get 3 additional stops at Western and at Dale and at Victoria and Hamlin. So that those 4 stops, Western. Hurley, this may explain the budget problem. Western, Victoria, and Hamlin, right? They wanted that line to be a bridge to communities, not a divider of communities. And on the day that the Green Line opened, another windy day in the city of St. Paul, Connie and I stood on the platform at Victoria University. And we stood there with Nick Kalik, with Floyd Smaller, and Marvin Anderson, those 3 sons of Rondo. And we marveled that, in fact, a small band of committed individuals had truly changed the world. That's the power of the people of the city of St. Paul. We also spent a lot of time making St. Paul kind of a fun place along the way. We had crashed ice. I still have the bruises to prove it. We built up the Jazz Fest to be one of the great jazz festivals in the country. Music in Mears Park, a world-class hall, thanks to John and Ruth Huss for the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. We built the Saint Stadium. We had beer dabblers. We have new great beer halls like this. The Palace Theater will open in just a few short weeks, and soon we will be breaking ground on that stadium for Major League Soccer in the city of St. Paul. But what I've loved the most about everything that we have done these last 11 years is we have never lost sight of who we are as a city. of what the spirit of St. Paul is all about. This scrappy little Midwest town has emerged from the shadow of its neighbor to the west to be a true twin of the Twin Cities by being true to itself. My brothers and sister and I grew up under the blinking lights of the Schmidt Brewery. Our neighbors worked there. They were mechanics at Northwest Airlines. They were police officers, and they were firefighters. They had the kind of jobs that paid a good wage, that allowed you to buy a house, put food on the table, and maybe even take a vacation. It seems sometimes that those jobs are rarer and rarer across this country. But in the city of St. Paul, we have fought to preserve those jobs. Across the street at Rock 10, there are 400 people that go to work every day. And it wasn't too long ago that that plant almost closed. But we rolled up our sleeves, and the first thing we did is we said to the folks at Rock 10, we want you here in the city of St. Paul. We will keep you here in the city of St. Paul, and we will do everything that we can to assist you in making the decision to stay here. We worked with the Port Authority. We worked with a community group. We looked at alternative energy strategies that would help them reduce their cost and make it profitable for them to be there. And they ultimately made the decision to stay here and keep those jobs in the city of St. Paul. That story was repeated at J&J Distribution. It was repeated at Gerdau Steel. It was repeated at Pure Foundry. It was repeated in company across the city of St. Paul. I'm so proud that we have never lost sight of the fact that good jobs are the backbone of a strong community, and those are true in the city of St. Paul. I'm proud of the work that we've done together. I'm proud of everything that we have accomplished, but I know that our work isn't done yet. Too many of our families are struggling and unable to hold on to their homes. Too many of our children are not graduating from high school or graduating unprepared to go to college or to take their place in a 21st century economy. In the future, it's clear that cities are going to have to continue to lead on behalf of our families in all of our communities. We're going to have to lead on climate change in the face of inaction on a federal level. St. Paul has been a leader on that effort. The Xcel Energy Center and River Center complex are among the greenest, if not the greenest, of those types of complexes in the entire country. We figured out that by retrofitting our parking ramps, we can not only reduce emissions, but we can save a heck of a lot of money. Reducing emissions and saving money, that's a pretty good combination, and we're going to continue to lead on those efforts. Cities will be the beacon of liberty for a new generation of immigrants who have come to the city of St. Paul for the same reason that most of our ancestors came here. My grandmother fled a war-torn Ireland, and she found refuge and a future in the city of St. Paul. A little over 40 years ago, the first Hmong families came to the city of St. Paul and found a refuge and future fleeing a war-torn country. And in the 40 years that the Hmong community has been here, they have been woven in to the very fabric of our community. So whether you're from East Africa, Central or South America, whether you're from Europe or Asia, whether you're a Dakota or Ojibwe, you are a part of the fabric of this community. And we will do everything to resist the attempts of anyone who would try to destroy that fabric. I told you I wasn't going to go off script, but I'm going to go off script because this is one of my favorite stories of being mayor. Shortly after I was elected, I was asked to go out and give a speech on a Saturday afternoon to a group that got together on a regular basis, and we were out at the Prom Center in Oakdale. And I got up and I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? They said, well, you know, whatever. So I was talked about the Wild winning a Stanley Cup. I talked about education. At the end of the speech, I said, are there any questions? And a guy stood up at the back of the room and he said, Mayor, I want to know why I have to dial a 1 to get someone that speaks English when I call my bank. He says, you support all this immigration, or you support these immigrants, and I want to know what you're going to do about that. And I said, well, first of all, I find it a little, bitterly ironic that the first question asked of me at the Norska Torska Kluben is why I support immigration. It's a true story. So, cities will continue, and St. Paul will continue to be a light of hope for people like my mother that grew up so poor that sometimes all she had for dinner was a piece of white bread and some lard left over from the bacon grease. But she went to Mechanic Arts High School a couple of years before Broderick. She went on to college. She raised 6 kids, and she got to see her son sworn in as the mayor of the city of St. Paul. Every mayor I have ever known, every mayor I've ever spoken to, whether they were still in office or whether they were no longer in office, will tell you the exact same thing. Being mayor is the best job that they ever had. My friend Joe Riley became known as America's mayor after spending 4 decades as the mayor of Charleston, South Carolina. My great friend and mentor, George Latimer, spent 16 years, almost 16 years, as the mayor of this great city. I intend to break neither of those records. Today I'm announcing that I will not seek another term as mayor of the city of St. Paul. Through this journey, I've been blessed with support from so many people from every part of this community. I was guided by my mother, Bridget, and my stepmother, Deborah, both of whom passed away 7 years ago. I was blessed by my mother-in-law, Jan, who died in September, who gardened almost every day in our front yard because she thought the mayor's yard should look good, and she wanted to create a sanctuary for bees and butterflies. She always dragged along her gardening assistant, her husband and my father-in-law, Jim, who worked hard because they were proud of the fact that their son-in-law was the mayor. My brothers and my sister-in-laws have been with me and supportive of me every step of the way. And through it all, literally and figuratively, side by side, day and night, were Connie and Molly and Aiden. Matt Freeman sent a picture around the other day of the 4 of us the day we were sworn in. Aiden was no bigger than this podium. If you want to feel the passage of time, see that son, who was this tall then, is now about to graduate from the University of Minnesota. That daughter is in the middle of law school applications while working out in New York. You know, it's not always easy to be the husband of or the children of the mayor. People that want to complain that can't get a hold of me directly would complain to them. The mayor's kids always got a little extra scrutiny when they were in school, I suspect. But this journey has brought us together as a family in a way that no other journey, I think, could have done. It's been a bumpy ride. It's had its highs and lows, but they have been with me for the ride, and I thank them for making that ride so much better. So over the next year, I intend to drive to the finish line. Soon, as I mentioned, the Palace Theater will open, and construction will begin on the new soccer stadium just down the street. The Ford site will edge closer and closer to a rebirth. Our work around education and equity will continue as the school board selects a new superintendent and their work continues. Our work to make St. Paul the kind of community that we want it to be will continue full speed ahead. And beyond the next year, I know the work will continue well into the future because of all of you. You who love the city as much as I do. You who believe in the city as much as I do. If I am proud of one thing in my 11 years as mayor, it is of all of you and the work that we have done together. So if you had the foresight to get a beer or a drink, pick it up. If you didn't, get your iPhone and get a champagne glass icon as I propose a toast. To St. Paul, to its people, and to its future. Cheers, thank you, and God bless.